From Marian Jones ending up in prison for taking steroids, to Spanish players lying about disabilities to get ahead, here are some of the times Olympians got caught cheating. All right, right off the bat, let's dive into the roller coaster story of Marian Jones at the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. She had an epic run that year, winning not just 1 or 2, but 5 medals. We're talking 2 bronze and 3 gold, people. But here's where things take a twist. Marian continuously denied any steroid use, and hey, she even passed all her drug tests during the Olympics. But hold up. In 2007, she finally spilled the beans and admitted to using those performance-enhancing substances before the Sydney Games. Oops, you can imagine the fallout from that bombshell. The poor gal had her medals stripped away just like that, and as if that weren't enough, she faced a 2-year ban from competing. No more thrilling races for her during that time. And that isn't even all of it. Later, she also found herself in hot water with the law. Yep, she got slapped with a 6-month prison sentence, all because she straight up lied to federal prosecutors who were snooping around about the use of performance-enhancing stuff. But she wasn't the only athlete in the Olympics who tried to get some leverage. The 100-meter event at the 1988 Seoul Games has earned quite the reputation as the dirtiest race, all because everyone was using performance enhancement drugs. Initially, Canadian sprinter Ben Johnson came out as the champion, but his victory was short-lived. Just days later, he was stripped of his gold medal when he tested positive for stanozolol, an anabolic steroid. Ouch! Johnson argued in his defense that it wasn't really cheating if everyone else was using drugs. Well, let's just say it wasn't the most convincing argument out there. And sure, it did raise a valid point, but the rules are the rules, and his positive test result meant he had to say goodbye to that gold medal. Guess who benefited from Johnson's downfall, though? None other than the second-place finisher, Carl Lewis, an American sprinter. But hold on before you start celebrating Lewis's victory too soon. Turns out, he'd also tested positive for banned stimulants during the US Olympic trials earlier that year, though somehow he managed to avoid suspension. As if the drama wasn't enough, the silver medalist, Britain's Linford Christie, had his own positive drug test. He tested positive for pseudoephedrine, a banned substance, but later on, the International Olympic Committee cleared him of any wrongdoing. How did he manage to escape the consequences? Well, he blamed the test result on his innocent ginseng tea. Quite the creative excuse, wouldn't you say? And while we're on the subject of creative lies, how can I not talk about the stunt Dong Fangxiao pulled? So, Dong was part of the Chinese gymnastics team that won a bronze medal in the team event. But it turns out she lied about her age. In the Olympics, athletes got to meet a minimum age requirement. For gymnastics, it was 16 years old back then. But guess what? Dong Fangxiao claimed she was 16 when in reality, she was younger. Some sources say she was probably just 14 or 15 years old. The whole mess started to unravel after the Sydney Olympics when Chinese media spilled the beans and exposed Dong Fangxiao's real age. You can imagine the uproar. People started questioning the fairness of the Chinese gymnastics team and whether they played by the rules. As you might expect, there were consequences. The International Gymnastics Federation launched an investigation, and in 2001, they dropped the bombshell. The Chinese women's team was disqualified from the Sydney Olympics, and their bronze medal was taken away. This scandal sparked a big debate about age faking in gymnastics. People even raised concerns about the pressure put on young athletes and the potential risks to their well-being. You got to give it to some of these athletes. They really came up with the most creative ways to lie. I mean, take Greek sprinters, Kostas, Kenteris, and Katerina Thanu, for instance. So, during the 2004 Athens Olympics, Kenteris and Thanu were big-time Greek athletes expected to dominate in the sprinting events. But guess what? Just a few days before the games kicked off, things took a wild turn. The duo didn't show up for a mandatory drug test at the Olympic Village. And what was their excuse? They claimed they had a motorcycle accident while coming back from training, saying they got hurt and couldn't make it to the drug control center. But here's where things get fishy. People started doubting their story real quick. They questioned the details of the supposed crash and suspected it was all a sneaky move to dodge the drug test. As you can imagine, dodging a drug test doesn't go over well. The International Olympic Committee didn't have any of it. They launched a full-blown investigation into the matter, and guess what they found? Yep, Contreras and Thanu were found guilty of trying to dodge the test and breaking the anti-doping rules. Later, their Olympic dreams came crashing down because they were yanked out of the games and faced some serious disciplinary action. If that didn't shock you, though, let me tell you about the time horses cheated. Yep. Did you know that it's not just humans who get tested for illegal drugs at the Olympics? Even the horses face scrutiny. So let me tell you about an interesting incident from the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing. There was this horse called Camiro, ridden by a Norwegian rider named Tony Andre Hansen. Camiro tested positive for a substance called capsaicin. You might be familiar with it as the stuff found in chili peppers that gives them their spicy kick. Usually, capsaicin is used in a cream to soothe minor injuries, but it can also act as a stimulant. And it's on the list of banned substances by the Olympics. Hansen and Camiro had actually won the bronze medal in a show jumping event. But when the positive test came back, things took a turn. They had to say goodbye to their hard-earned medal. So it's not just human athletes who have to play by the rules and stay away from banned substances. Oh, and this cheating in the Olympics isn't something new either. I mean, back in the 1904 Olympic Games in St. Louis, there was a marathon with some serious cheating shenanigans. Let me fill you in on the story. So, there was this American dude named Fred Lors who pulled off a sneaky move. He won the marathon, or so he thought. But here's the catch. At the 9-mile mark, he decided he had enough and stopped running, claiming exhaustion. Crafty as he was, his coach gave him a lift in a car for a good 11 miles. But that's not even all of it. After the joyride, Lors jumped out of the car and finished the remaining part of the race. But spectators weren't buying it. They were like, hold up, dude didn't even run the whole race. Well, you can imagine the chaos that took place after that. The title of marathon champ was rightfully given to another American runner, Thomas Hicks. But Hicks had his own little secret. He'd also used a performance-enhancing drug called strychnine during the race. I guess he thought it'd give him an extra boost. In the end, despite all the cheating and shenanigans, Hicks was declared the winner. Can't say it was the cleanest victory, but rules are rules, I suppose. The worst one out of all, though, was the time a contestant actually faked disability. In a surprising turn of events at the 2000 Paralympics in Seoul, Spain made quite a splash by winning 104 medals. Impressive, right? You won't think so once I tell you how they won these medals. Among their achievements was a glorious gold medal win in basketball for the intellectually disabled category. The whole nation celebrated it, and obviously, why wouldn't they? It was a big deal, but soon their happiness went down the drain. Carlos Ribagorda, a player on the Spanish team, made a revelation soon after their victory. Turns out, Carlos was not just an ordinary player. He was actually an undercover journalist. Carlos spilled the beans and revealed that the Spanish team had been involved in some serious cheating shenanigans. Apparently, 12 of the team members weren't intellectually disabled at all. Can you believe it? Fans of the sport were super pissed, and rightfully so. Later, once things unraveled, we found that Spain didn't bother conducting any proper tests to verify their disability. They just slipped right through the cracks. Obviously, the officials weren't going to let something like this slide by, and so the Spanish teams were stripped of their gold medals. So there you have it. From Spanish players lying about disabilities to Marian Jones ending up in prison for taking steroids, those were some of the times Olympians got caught cheating.